Well, hey, welcome to another HL Flake Live Business Roundtable. We are live right now here in Charlotte, North Carolina, and we're sharing information out on Facebook and YouTube. We've got a great panel of guests today to discuss an interesting topic in the security industry, and that is revolving around salespeople or a sales team in your organization. Do you need one? When do you add one? How do you build one? That's going to be kind of part of the conversation that we're going to be talking about today, and we appreciate you joining us for the conversation. As always, we thank HL Flake for promoting this and pushing it out and connecting our industry together. HL Flake, they've represented themselves as being for the locksmith, and they're staying true to that by getting information and sharing information out to the locksmith and security industry. So without further ado, I want to welcome in our panelists for today. We've got folks from Texas and some folks from our team here in Charlotte, North Carolina as well. So we'll kind of go around the room and do some quick introductions just so everybody knows who's here, and then we'll get into the conversation about sales teams. So to the top left, we've got Daniel with us. Daniel, give us a quick introduction as to who you are and where you're from.
So I'm from Austin, Texas. I'm with Cawthron Safe and Lock, the operations manager, project manager. Um, that's about it.
How long have you been with Cawthorns, Daniel?
I just hit 8 years.
8 years, very cool. Daniel's been around the industry. I've had a chance to meet him a couple of times through different industry functions. So really cool to have you here today. We were actually just texting the other day, and when Travis texted me and said he was going to get you on, it was a very ironic time frame because we had just been having some conversations here recently. So Daniel, we appreciate you being here today. Down in the bottom left-hand corner, we have Zach Pfeiffer. Zach, how you doing today?
I'm good. How about yourself?
Pretty good, man.
So I'm Zach Pfeiffer with Lockdock Security. Been in the industry around 6 years. Gone to over to the sales team. Was originally a locksmith technician and moved into the sales role. So looking forward to the call today.
Very cool. And then down in the bottom right-hand corner, we have Kevin. Kevin, how you doing?
I'm doing really good, man. Thank you. My name is Kevin Jensen. I'm the principal in Summit Security Sales. We're an independent manufacturers rep group. Out of the Texas market, we rep Cabo Ilka, which would include Advanced Diagnostics, Marks USA, Olympus Lock Company, Avis Lock Company, CanSec, Gardall, a couple others. We run Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, and then we go as far east as Memphis. Very blessed to be here. Thank y'all for asking.
Very cool. Well, we're glad to have everybody here. It looks like you're a fan of the Houston Texans as well. Sorry,
my kid keeps changing that out. I don't know what happened.
Sorry, it's a bad joke. Travis,
If you're a Dallas fan, if you're a lifelong Dallas fan, you get used to it, brother.
Hey, Dallas is America's team. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right? Thank you.
Yeah, we won't get into sports today because we don't want to talk about our hometown team. Let's get into the conversation today about sales. It was very interesting. Travis sent a message the other day saying, hey, here's an idea discussing the roles of dedicated sales staff in your business development team, how to enable them to sell, how to measure, motivate, compensate. And the other question is, how has the sales process changed within the current pandemic? Very interesting and ironic conversation because in a very similar meeting that we have on our business meeting online every day, this is a topic that we're actually addressing tonight in further detail at 4 o'clock. Folks were very interested in this. I think we've had a really cool experience in our organization building a sales team. And so I want to kind of share some of that through this conversation. And that's one of the reasons Zach is here, because he has been kind of navigating that and building that team. But I want to understand from an overall perspective, what is the role of sales? What is the role of customer account management in the security industry? Why is it something that we've struggled to adapt and to apply and implement? And what are some things that we need to be mindful of? So Kevin, I wanted to kind of toss it to you first and kind of see, hey, what have you seen? You've been around the industry. You've seen some maybe from some different angles. How do you see sales being applied from the actual locksmith business or the security business side?
Well, it's interesting when Travis called me, or we were on, I think we were actually on the phone taking care of some other stuff, and he invited me or asked if I'd be interested in this. And part of the reason was, I came into the industry a little over 20 years ago with a wholesale distributor out of Dallas, and then went into as a direct manufacturer's rep for a company. for a short time, and then was with a one of the more notable locksmith businesses, retail locksmith businesses in Dallas. And then, of course, we ended up buying another shop. So two of the most notable locksmith businesses. And then, of course, I guess about 11 years ago, sold out of that and started my independent rep business. So yeah, from I mean, by and large, except for being in a truck, I ain't a technician. I have a ton of respect for those guys because I can tell you some good work, but brother, it'd take me an hour and a half to put a deadbolt in a residential door, and that's if it's already prepped. So, but one of the things when I went to, I had been in sales before, but the industry, of course, is one all into its own. When I was given the opportunity to get more focal with your question and answer, going to work for a locksmith, how do you sell?
Mm-hmm.
I laid awake at night. I really did. It was again a customer who we had a good personal relationship with. He bought a ton of my stuff from the distributor I was with, and he had an idea. And at least in Dallas at that time, Dallas Fort Worth, there wasn't any locksmith out there with a salesperson. This was about 05, 2005.
Sure.
And you make your deal, because it's all about the money and the car. What are you going to, but then you make your deal and you're laying awake at night. Like, hey, I got to make it rain, man. And so every job, at least in this industry, I had been given an account list. Oh man, you go cold call and you find new people, but you got a list, brother. And I'm laying there going, oh man, I don't have a list. What do you do now? Especially in a big place like Dallas Fort Worth. So, but what we did was, I just, it's that old 80-20 rule. And first day on the job, I asked for the customer list. I asked it to be broke down into descending sales. And man, I went and hit the largest commercial accounts that we had. The guys in the vans have got friggin' 12 or 15 service calls to do a day. They're trying to get in there and, adjust the top rod on this vertical rod device.
Yeah.
They're trying to get in there and rekey this office. There wasn't anybody going, hey, by the way, who does your cameras?
Mm-hmm.
You guys have card readers? Who does that? And that's how we went to market.
It's a very good response. It's very interesting because I've been around the industry for a while and had conversations with people, and there's a couple of different schools of thought. One of them is everybody's in sales, and to a point that is the case. Everybody is in sales to support a customer. You're in customer service. I believe everybody's in customer service. I do believe that there is a specific role for helping a customer find this proper solution, and I do believe that oftentimes is a difficult thing to do. To mitigate being in the field, working on that specific opening, that specific door or lock, and also trying to do sales simultaneously. I think that it's a hard thing to mitigate both. So, Daniel, I'd toss over to you. What have you guys seen at Cawthorn's as far as how you handle that? Do you have a separate sales team? Is that kind of integrated, a shared role type of situation?
Yeah, we've got some dedicated sales guys. We've got 4 to 5, depending on how you classify a salesman. And that's their job, basically, is just generating business, talking to the customer, letting them know what we offer, trying to find solutions for them. The same situation, like you said, like our technicians are out there every day, but they're fixing that problem. They're doing a service call for whatever it is. So they're not thinking, about the bigger picture, about the bigger facility or what other services Cawthorn's offers that the customer could benefit from. The hard part, I think, in this industry is that in order to be, what I consider a really good salesman, you have to know the products in the industry and the application of everything. So you can't just hire somebody that's a good salesman that doesn't know anything about it, because they're going to go out there and not be able to find the solutions that the customer needs for their problems. You have to have a little bit of history, a little bit of background in the industry. So that's our biggest hurdle, is finding enough people that we can put in a salesman position that have the salesman qualities, that makes a good salesman, and the experience to be able to, be confident and sound like they know what they're talking about with the customer.
So you said you've been with Cawthorn's for 8 years. How long has Cawthorn's been running a sales team?
Longer than I've been there. So we probably had salesmen for, I don't know, if I was just a guess, maybe 20 years,
Okay.
Dedicated salesmen in some capacity. I think we have, we're benefited. We're a little bit bigger than most locksmith companies, so we can have those dedicated sales guys and float their expenses until the big jobs land. I think if you're a smaller locksmith company, you got to weigh that out. Are you gonna hire on a salesman, might not see any return on that for months down the road, or what? So
Yep.
being a little bit bigger size and having an established clientele helps out with that. We're not quite big enough to where we have dedicated people that are doing marketing or doing brochures or whatever that salesmen can then go out and do. So we're still kind of doing a lot of that in house and wearing multiple hats. So it's a struggle. It's a struggle being larger and having that sales force, but then not having the proper support that sales force needs, I think, to be more successful.
So that I very valid point, Daniel. Is so some people have made the leap to sales, to having a sales staff or a sales team, and then are there other what's the next leap is as far as marketing or support? Going back to you said that you've been the company has been doing this for probably 20 years or more. It's just kind of become part of what they're doing. Kevin, and I'll jump to Zach here in just a minute, because we're I would say we're kind of newer to a sales team approach. It's been within the last 5 years. Zach, you can probably correct me if I'm wrong on that. But for those companies that are out there that are in the locksmith industry and are trying to figure out, maybe I'm a 2, 3, 4 man operation, maybe I'm a 10-person operation, and I just don't see the need for it, or I can't quite quantify it just yet. Kevin, what have you seen? Like, I would imagine in your role, you deal with a lot of different companies. What are you seeing as far as people that are adapting to it, or people that are questioning it and just not quite comfortable with it yet?
Man, you're about to get me kicked off of here. Uh, I I I think maybe you mentioned it earlier in since we went live, or we were talking about it before. Um, it's a blue collar industry, man, and it's technicians, some of who have bought a business or started their own shop, or even mobile or with a storefront, and it's there's a fear there. Is what there's a fear. This guy's like, just like when I went into, and I'm going to talk about, I can certainly talk about my experience as a manufacturer's rep, but relying on when I was doing it, selling for a locksmith, which I think is the focal point here.
Yep.
Man, the majority owner of the business, he had a budget, and he says, I can pay you this much. And basically, this is how much volume we're running. To pay for you, I need you to run this much. I said, okay. So much of it is just taking that jump, going, man, if I look how well we're doing as the 2 or 3 or 4 man operation.
Mm-hmm.
What could we do if? And so I think in my years now as a manufacturer's rep, going and visiting most of the shops at some point in our territory, very few salespeople, dedicated salespeople, and most of it is just it's come a little ways since the let me put a Yellow Pages ad out and pray. It's come a little ways since that, but I hate to tell you, man, that's now it's let me get some Google click words and pray.
Yeah, most definitely. So you brought up a bunch of valid points, and I want to kind of come back to some of those. So fear, kind of budgeting, and then understanding kind of how to direct somebody, or how to put somebody towards a goal. And you kind of clearly outlined that was one of the things that was done when you joined that locksmith company.
Right.
I can tell you, for our experience, we had a little bit different walk into it. And also, Daniel had mentioned about, it's hard to put a salesperson in that role if they don't have any technical knowledge, or if their technical knowledge is limited. And that's another topic I do want to come back to and kind of ask that question. Is that a possibility? Because I do think that is kind of the typical philosophy that we have worked on, and trying to figure out, are there leeways in that? So Zach is part of our team. He's been with it. Zach, how long have you been with our organization?
I've been July will be 6 years.
6 years. Okay.
Been with LockDoc.
So he joined us as a rookie without any industry knowledge, and then was in the field for what, about a year, year
two,
and a half,
2 years.
two
Yep,
years.
2 years.
Okay, I'm just making up numbers at this point. So for about 2 years, and then he basically propositioned us to say, hey, can I move into a role, and I think I can help influence sales and customer growth in our organization. Zach, what did that look like for you?
Yeah, I mean, so when I did first start, we talked about selling just a key system, a regular key system, and I kind of brought that up to Chad and said, "Hey, man, how do I sell this? How do I go into this customer and say, hey, do you need this key system?" So Chad coached me a lot on that. Give him props to that because he coached me a lot of how to do things and the way to talk to people. I feel like I'm a people person, so I enjoy talking to people. I love talking to people. I can't stand talking over Skype and large meetings and large groups, but the one-on-one, the 2 and 3 people, I'll talk all day long. That doesn't bother me. So when I did come onto this role, I kind of went into it thinking, I have no clue about this, but let me learn as much as possible about the products. Let me learn as much as possible about the company, and what our core values are. I think that's a huge one for us, is on our core values, because if we line up with our core values, then we make sure we're staying in line with what we need to do and what we need to accomplish through the year. So when I first came on, I had no clue. So I literally went through, as a lot of locksmith companies now, they have sales guys are the technicians. So that's how it was before. And we had a purchasing manager that actually sent the quotes out to customers. So when I first started in the role, I would work my normal day-to-day job from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. At 3 p.m., I would come home every single day, get on my iPad, and I would literally call every single customer that we've ever sent a quote to. So I went back 2 years, and started calling every single customer that we'd ever sent a quote to, and just get that feedback. Hey, how did that process look for you? How long was it taking us to get the quote? What was that process look like whenever you did get the quote? Was it accurate enough? Could you understand the quote? Do you have any questions on it? I got a lot of no's. I'll tell you that much. I got more no's than I'd ever want to think about
Yep.
getting. I got
Yep.
a lot of no's. I got a lot of cussing out of people saying, you took 2 months, or you took 3 weeks to get a quote. What the heck's? I got this other guy, going back and forth. So that was a huge learning for me, on how to talk to people or how to deal with situations, because you can't just be like, oh, sorry, thanks, and hang up the phone. You actually have to, figure out, hey, what's that solution? Hey, yeah, we messed up, but let's come back in. Let's try to figure this out. Let's kind of work from there. So that's how I initially got started, and I think I learned a world of knowledge just thinking about that and just doing that, every single day. So
Yeah, so kind of going back to what Kevin was saying when he started in, he went and got the existing customer list and kind of looked at it from that angle. Zach's process was similar in a sense that we just kind of set him out and said, contact everybody that we have not gotten approval from and find out why. Because for us, we understood that our sales process was not very friendly for a customer, and it was slow at times, and so that was a big component. So I want to ask each person just real quick, and we'll start with Kevin, then we'll go to Daniel and Zach. Kevin, what do you see, and what did you see when you were selling for a locksmith company? What was kind of the secret sauce or the base fundamental to actually get a customer to basically to communicate to a customer and then actually get a sale?
Ask for it. It's just like now. I don't care if you're with a distributor, or you're with a manufacturer, with a locksmith dealer. You know, like you said, we're all in sales, man. Trying to get your 5-year-old to clean their room, brother. You sell it. You know what I'm saying? And you need them to buy, for a number of reasons. But I was just telling, the older I get, the more stories I tell. I'm not going to do that to you here. But I was having a conversation just a couple of days ago about a story where I had sat down with a seasoned dear friend of mine, a seasoned manufacturer's rep. And gosh, I don't even think I was a year into this. And I was just crying the blues. When I was with the locksmith company, I'm here to tell you, I promise you, I had an 80% close rate. I promise you. And oh, my pretty good salesperson, depends on the day. But just like Zach was saying, man, I called him. Hey, you have a key system with us. did you know that we do this and this and this? I had no idea. They've asked me to, yeah, he's non Zach knows the deal. They've given me these cards. I don't even know what these cards mean. Can you come see me? Hell yeah, I'll come see you. And guess what? You're installing 12 electrified access control openings. I mean, come on, man. So number one was asking for the business. And most people had no idea when they think of a locksmith. I mean, we all know what they think of that dude, cutting them a key. Most of them had no idea, and that was number one. Ask for the business and make sure they know what we do.
Most definitely. Daniel, what has kind of been your understanding is the secret to get that?
I mean, I think he said it, perfectly. You got to, be willing to put yourself out there with the customer, and inform them on everything that you do. It's not just keys and locks. It's access control, cameras. It's the whole gambit, doors, frames, whatever it is. Just tapping into your existing customers and spreading the wealth of what you do, and then keeping that communication, with the customer. If you're going to be a couple days on a quote and turning something around, let them know.
Yeah,
be upfront with them. I think most people are pretty reasonable, and if you tell them, hey, we're slammed right now, we're busy, it's going to take me a couple extra days. Most people are okay with that. And if you just ghost them and don't talk to them, and then they get mad. So it's the same thing with with your employees. You just keep that communication going, let them know where you're at with the process and what the next step is going to be like. So if you have someone sign off, get let them know what to expect with the next step, so that not just the sales portion is smooth, but the whole customer interaction is smooth, and that way that customer then becomes a salesman for you. A lot of the jobs that we get, the projects, are from referrals. Customer says, I heard you guys did a great job for them, and we want to use you. So you're, as a salesman, you don't just, your job doesn't stop when the sale is done. You want to be you want to sell the whole company.
Right.
So Zach, what have you understood through the 4 years that you've been working on kind of crafting a sales process for our organization, and then ultimately kind of helping to build a sales team? What has been that kind of secret thing that you figured out?
Yeah, I don't know if I figured it out yet. I'm still learning that process every day. But I think for us, more on trying to think how to word this properly without getting in trouble, as Kevin says. So another, for me, it's we're here to provide you with a solution. I'm not here to just sell you something just because I want to sell it. I'm here to provide you with a solution that's going to be best for you. So a lot of times when I go in, the first thing I ask is, what are the problems that you're having? Instead of telling all this stuff that we can do, this plethora of information that most people don't even know the lingo of it. So you have to kind of break that down, but just telling them, being upfront, I don't need a lock. You do. You know what I mean? Like, not to say that, but I don't need a lock. You do. I need to help you protect your people and property. So, and that's, again, one of ours is helping people protect their people and property. So, just providing that solution for them, for that customer. And again, what Daniel said is just letting them know, like, hey, let them know if you're busy, and hey, it's going to take a couple days. People give you more respect from being upfront and honest. And I think that's another thing, that the salespeople get a really, really bad rap of, being the sleazy salesperson. I think that's why, again, we don't like to be called salespeople. We like to call account managers, because I'm not here to like sell you something that you don't need. I'm here to provide you with that solution. So just off of that, I feel.
Yeah, if I could just chime in real quick off of what you just said, that's been my philosophy with our customers. Is I want to build a clientele or a customer list that's going to be for 50 years. That way that keeps on building, and I'm not interested in that one-time sale. I don't want to gouge somebody and just sell them on something one time. So I'm thinking, the length of the customer relationship.
Absolutely.
So I want to go back to some of the stuff that Kevin kind of opened up earlier about fear. So one of the deterrents of making a leap towards this process is fear. And the other one, I think, is the general, and I was talking to Zach about this earlier, I think the general philosophy is, all right, we have to be able to do enough work that we can support a salesperson so that we can pay them to sit around and not do anything, because that's typically what they do. So how do you, but I think anybody that's taken the leap and had any type of a successful run at it can very quickly understand that that's not the way that it works, and that a good sales team and a good sales process can drive significant business to your organization and business growth. Because most, I think, if you look at the percentages, the people that have actually gone down this venture and been successful with it, they haven't pulled it back. Now, there's been some people that have gone down that venture and not been successful with it because of various factors. Maybe they didn't set good, clear expectations. Maybe they didn't have the right person in the role. Maybe, you could kind of click that off from a couple of different aspects, but then they kind of pulled back on it because of that initial fear. But ones that have gone down that path and have had had a successful run with it would never think about going away from it. With all that said, that's a long run up to the question: is what do you see of value in having dedicated salespeople versus it being a part-time position or a part-time job? So this is my lead tech and salesperson, or I'm the general manager and sales, or I'm the owner and I do sales. What do you see having it as a dedicated person or a dedicated team versus a part of something that you do?
I'll jump in first on that one, just from our business standpoint. The main thing that I got the nose on where it took too long to get the quote. That was the number one problem that we had at LockDoc when I first started. Is whenever you get a quote and it takes 5 to 7 days to get someone a quote, they've already shopped around, they already know what they're looking for, and the first guy that comes in and gives them a quote within 2 days, most likely that's the one they're going to go with because they want that service. And if you don't give them that, I think that's a big problem in the industry for sure.
Kevin, Daniel?
Well, I think anytime you're wearing multiple hats, it's kind of hard to decide which hat is the more important hat. So if you're a locksmith and a salesman, you might tend to be where you're more comfortable, is where you're kind of shooting most of your attention. And sales is uncomfortable, especially if you're coming from being a hands-on kind of person, working with tools and materials. Getting in front of people and doing sales process can be kind of uncomfortable. So I think if you can have a dedicated salesperson that's their job and they're going to give 100% to that, that's more focus. And when kind of what we do at Cawthorns is we have our service techs, and they do their quotes for little service things. So a customer goes out there and they want some work done, and they want a quote for something that's pretty small, then they'll take care of it themselves. So they're still kind of a technician / salesman in a way. And that frees up our dedicated salesmen to go after the larger projects, the things that the technician on the road isn't going to get their hands on. They're not going to just stumble across some blueprints for an upcoming bid. So that salesman, you can direct them. You can say, hey, this is what I want you to focus on. This is your job. You do it this way. And think, if you think about the salesman bringing in that job, is they're going to bring in maybe a larger job, right? But that's going to then create service calls down the road for that new customer. So you have to look at that. You have to look at the residual gain of having a salesman, not just the one-time sale.
Most definitely. Kevin, thoughts?
No, both these guys, Daniel and Zach, hit the nail on the head. Man, I love the comment about they don't want to pay a guy to sit around and do nothing because that's what salespeople do. And sad to say, brother, that's how a lot of them are viewed. Some of it is just, brother, probably a good portion of it. But where we were talking earlier about I want the whole planet to know I'm a salesperson. You know what I mean? If nothing else, hopefully I can reverse the thought process of the opinion of what most people think of salespeople. I'm also looking for a customer for life. I have no idea why somebody wants to go in and hit one lick. That old bit about it's I don't know, 5 times harder to get someone's business back than to get it the first time.
Sure.
Just take care of it, man. That's all. We're all consumers. That's all. We're all customers. That's all any of us want. We just want to be taken care of. I don't want no problems. If I got a problem, all I want to hear from you is no problem. So to come back to the straight question, man, wearing 2 hats. Listen, sales is really, really cerebral. I mean, it's like I've told folks, including some of the new folks I've hired over the years, including the ones who aren't from the industry. Listen, man, there is a lifetime between 26 and 26D. You leave that D off, everybody dies. Who's gonna bright chrome? What you gonna do with 100 bright chrome levers, man? So it really you have to have your head in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And so a dedicated salesperson, I mean, that's just the only way. And like Daniel said, two hats on, and I don't care what the two jobs are. Wearing two hats is really tough. And then lastly, and I'll stop talking. Again, having that title, we don't even have, from me to the other three people that work for me, we don't have positions on our cars because it don't matter. You call and we're going to take care of you. Mm-hmm. But being called salespeople, it's just like I tell distributors, like I tell locksmiths, hey man, and again, like Daniel was saying, having a dedicated salesperson walk into a customer's place and go, what is your need? Like Zach said, what is your pain? We're the doctor, and I'm here to sell. Your job is to buy. I don't want anybody getting confused. Now, we're going to sell you what you need. We're going to give you solutions that's going to take away all your pain. But having a dedicated salesperson, if you're going to go that route, don't split it. Just don't do it. Just wait till you can afford it, or do you think you can afford it?
Well,
don't try to split it.
Most definitely. I definitely agree with you on that. I think that one of the interesting components of it is the fact that it is a bit of a risk, but it does have a good reward. If you're looking for the right people to join your organization, and you can point them in the right direction and give them the kind of the measurements to go by, or at least some goal to shoot for, then I don't see that there's a negative to that. So I do want to touch on kind of defining expectations. What is not? What are you supposed to be doing? What are you not supposed to be doing? Because I think a lot of times people get when you get into a sales role, maybe a project management role or whatever, it's very easy to kind of bounce back and forth between these things, and then all of a sudden you're just spread so thin. So I do want to talk about that. Should a salesperson also project manage, or is that two separate roles as well? So let's talk about that, and then I want to come back to understanding how to hire a salesperson, or what to look for in a good salesperson. So we just talked about not wearing two hats. So maybe this is a redundant question, but I think that it's pretty standard having a salesperson also manage the project that they sold. Thoughts on that?
So this is something that has kind of developed over the last couple of years with Cawthorns, is that, for a while we were doing a lot of this with our sales. So basically our salesmen would sell something, and then they would project manage something. And when you're project managing something, you're not selling, right?
Yes.
And we were asking our salesmen, hey, sell more. And they're like, we can't, we're project managing. So we've kind of developed project managers to fix that solution, right? Because you want your salesmen selling, you want them bringing in the work, and you want your skilled guys, all your locksmiths and your security techs, the guys with the experience, the knowledge, you want them working, turning screws and getting stuff done. So that project manager is basically the middleman. They facilitate. They take all the jobs that the salesman sells, freeing them up to keep selling and keep that pipeline packed.
Yep.
I think the tendency when you're first starting out is for the salesman to be that project manager, just because they're familiar with it. But I think in the ideal world, you have a salesman and then you got someone to manage the jobs. And we're still learning. We're still figuring out our processes for handing over the jobs, and when and how and what needs to be included. But yeah, I think having a project manager help the salesman is important.
So I'll tag on to that, Daniel. When I did first start into sales, that's how it was. I would literally sell the project, and I'd the entire way through, I would continue to do it until it was completely done. So then Chad and Chris brought that in and said, hey, we need more sales, so we need to get that pipeline, that funnel, keep going down the road. So we did bring in project managers at LockDoc. And we actually have a project handoff meeting every Thursday morning at 7 a.m. The account management team, the purchasing manager, the service manager, and both of the project managers. We all sit in a room and we basically hand off those projects. As you said, that was a pain point for us, was trying to hand off those, and how do we hand those off? So we set that meeting up. We did used to do it at 10 a.m. in the morning, and that was very chaotic because you'd have all the techs calling and everybody going around. So we changed that to 7 a.m. It's done wonders for us, or for me personally. I feel it's been a game changer for me, not having to go walk the project with all the technicians and tell them everything needs to go and how to pull the wire here and what they need to do. So they're pulling those project managers in and say, here's the project. This is everything I know about it. If you have any problems with it, come talk to me and we can discuss it.
Mhm.
But here it is, and I'm gonna hand it off, and that's it. And then we try to, again, for us, it's the follow up after, as Daniel said, is building that long term relationship. So following up after seeing how how it went, how the project went. Was everything smooth? What were the pain points for that, so that we can kind of correct that for the future?
I think something that comes out of this process, like you said, with the salesman, the project manager, the technicians. I'm sorry, it's my kids. Um, is it gives a little bit of I guess verticality to the industry, right? So people come and become a locksmith, and they're like, "All right, I'm a locksmith. Where do I go from here?" You know. Hey,
Hey, how's it going, buddy?
sorry.
No, you're good. Hey, we're all adapting in these
Today's
situations.
world.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
today's world, bro.
But it gives the people coming in the industry something where they can see that there's progression. I can become a locksmith for a while, then maybe a lead tech on some larger projects, and a project manager, and so on, and maybe less turnover.
Kevin, anything to add? Project management versus project management in sales?
Well, I apologize, Chad, Zach. I kind of live in my five state bubble, So I certainly know Cawthorns. Cawthorns is a monster, man. They're huge. And you guys, seems like I clicked on your link. You guys are a good sized company. So my experience is that we had 3 technicians when I was hired, and then when I left, we had 7. By the grace of God, we just about doubled business on again, one of the more notable shops in Dallas. We just about doubled business in about 2 years. That's what a salesperson. Now I had great techs. I had great ownership. He was ready to write the checks and go sell anything you want to sell. So it was that perfect storm, so to speak. But I'll draw an illustration to answer your question. That nice lady that kicked her husband out and wants some, Peaks cylinders, wants a restricted key system on her 5 exterior doors. I would go out. I would quote that. She takes it. We just dispatch the tech. They don't need me on that. I've got a company that we happen to get the 5 openings, the 5 access control openings. Well, as it turns out, it's a 12-story building, and now they want us to quote floors upon floors. I manage those projects. But we were a smaller company. We really didn't have a spot for a project manager. So I don't think it's a right or wrong way. It's for everybody's individual business. What does the business call for? I think they're both good ways to do it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Daniel's illustration of the highs and lows of the sales cycle. I've shared that exact same story and philosophy with our team before, because that's what helped level it out. Multiplying the sales team and then having project management. And as Zach said, one of the things that we try to talk about around our organization is, and we have a project handoff meeting. We feel like if our sales team does their job well, our account management team does their job well, they should be able to hand that off to our project management team or hand that off to the technicians. But if they have to hand hold it, if they have to carry it all the way through, then they probably didn't do a good job at the very beginning of setting that job up or setting that estimate up. So there's some things that you can look at from that aspect. Is why is the need to carry it through? Maybe it's size of business. Maybe you just haven't created enough space to add that person in there yet. But or maybe it's just because the sales process on the early stages are just not quite clean enough yet to get it to where you can communicate it to a third person before it actually gets to the installation team. So
and it's like Zach said, that communication is so important. Hey,
Hmm.
I used to ask people, when do you need your quote by?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, I if I have to have it in a week, shoot, I'll have it to you in 2 days, man. And then at every juncture of the sales process, you have a conversation. Okay, when are we going to do this? Okay, here's what's next. And you're right, that good communication up front. There's not really any hand holding to happen.
All right. One of the last questions I want to ask is, because this is, I think, a maybe an age-old debate. The most knowledgeable person in your organization is your best salesperson. Yes or no?
No.
No.
What then classifies a good person to help guide your customers to a solution?
You got to listen, man. You got to listen.
So somebody that's a good listener.
You got to listen. You got to listen.
And
Hey, man, what are you experiencing? To the residential customer, to the commercial customer, property management, facilities, it doesn't matter. You called me. What are you experiencing? If you can have a good technical person, and we were very blessed to have one. If you have a very good tech who can also really engage, like Zach was, really engage with customers and listen, and man, cool. But it's got to be someone who can listen and really hear and offer them good options.
I think I think that person has to be somebody that's willing to learn as well.
Mhm.
Constantly learning. We have technicians that are great. They're amazing locksmiths, but that's what they know. So in their mind, the solution is a locksmith solution. They're not thinking about the cameras or something else. Or the industry is always evolving. There's new stuff coming out, so that person has to be able to stay on top of the new stuff as well. So it can't just be somebody that's stuck in their ways.
Any other thoughts, Zach? What do you think? What do you think is a good characteristic of somebody that you would want to have on your team?
For me, again, like I said, somebody that enjoys being around people. If you're scared to talk to someone, or fear of conflict, I think that's another big one. If you have fear of conflict, sales is probably not the role for you. But just knowing that person, you know what I mean? Knowing whenever you are talking to a person, you're having constant communication with them, or you're having communication that's not just about that lock. Hey, how's your family doing? Do you have kids? Make it personable. I think that's another thing is whenever you're personable with people. If someone's personable with you, of course you're going to have the one-offs that just have no care in the world. But just being a good person in general. I don't know what it defines a salesperson. Again, I feel that we all sell everything all day long. We sell ourselves. You sell your personality every single day. And that's all you really have to go on, that first impression. So.
It's very interesting. I think that for us, what we've looked at is somebody that's relational, somebody that can connect with people, and we have the technical people, we have the knowledgeable people on our team that we can resource when we need to find a solution. But ultimately, at the end of the day, we want people that can engage with other people, understand what their needs are, be empathetic, and help to solve their problem. And I think that's what a good account manager, a good salesperson is just somebody that is actually interested and willing in helping you solve your problem. Not interested in just trying to sell you something, but interested in actually helping you solve your problem, especially in our industry. When you're talking security, you're trying to build trust. You need to build trust. And part of that is not just trying to sell somebody this widget, like I've got this widget and I'm going to sell you. It's not about that. It's about how do I guide you to that end solution and help you make a good decision, or at least suggest that good decision to you. So from this, I've got here, just from what you just said, somebody that listens well, a good listener, somebody that's willing to learn, somebody that's willing to adapt, somebody that does not fear conflict. And if they're constantly looking for validation, then that's probably not a good role for them either, because there's going to be a lot of times when maybe you don't get that from your customer base. Somebody that enjoys being around people and somebody that's very relational is some good characteristics of somebody that you need to have sales. And none of those say that you have to know everything about the industry that you're moving into. So my suggestion for any business owner or business leader that's looking down this path or interested in this or thinking about it is to start to find somebody that kind of fits that character, and say, hey, this is how we want to have this person on our team, and we just want you to go connect with our customer base and see what they need. Maybe it's just the fact that they had no clue that we did everything else other than just cut keys, and that person can get that communication to you or to that customer base. I do want to give a kind of a quick wrap up, and we're kind of closing in on the end of our time together. Kevin, Daniel, Zach, any closing thoughts on this of things that you would like to communicate to our industry to say, hey, if you're thinking about this, if this is something that you're just kind of on the edge about, what would be something that you would say is a reason to start looking for creating a sales team in your company?
I'll start and just say, find someone that cares. Find someone that cares about your business, not just theirself. I think that's another big one is, I care about LockDoc. So I enjoy getting up every single day and coming to work. If you don't enjoy what you do, it makes for a long, long career. I'm sure of that. So that's all I got.
Most definitely. Daniel, Kevin?
If you're on the fence about building a sales team, if you're a small locksmith company, you're probably, if you're the owner, you are that salesperson.
Right.
So just think about, if you're the owner, how much sales you're bringing in on your own. Now you're doing that while wearing multiple hats. If you can dedicate somebody to that position, how much more could that person bring in, and then free you up to do, more stuff that you need to be doing. I think having a sales team is important, and it's a good step for anybody that wants to grow their business.
Very valid point, Daniel. How much, what are you doing on your own, and what could somebody that was dedicated to that do on their own would be a very good calculation to look at. Kevin, any closing thoughts?
Don't let fear stop you, man. You can look at the numbers, look at your books. You can. I went into business one time, and they had a business agreement they made you sign, and the guy says, "Man, you can talk to your wife, you can talk to your lawyer, you can talk to your priest, but man, if you don't sign here, you don't get in." And I flipped it open, I signed it. So and it was a very well. You know what? That's that sales award on the wall that you asked about is from that company 25 years ago. You took a game every day we get out of bed, it's a gamble, right? Some gambles are worth taking, some ain't. Man, if you're on the fence, like Daniel said, again, we doubled business on a well-established company. It's a well-established company. This wasn't a startup, and we doubled it in like 2.5 years. So I would just encourage someone to, if you're on the fence, maybe you hire a person to run your office for you so that you don't have to through the business owner. But for God's sakes, go sell, man. It's just sitting there waiting for you.
Very cool. Hey, Daniel, Kevin, Zach, appreciate your time and input today. One of the things that we didn't get an opportunity to discuss at any detail or length or even really bring up is how would you set goals and targets for a sales team for growth? And I think that could really stand on its own conversation. So I'm sure Travis is listening, and maybe that's something that we can retool for next week to really talk about what are some goals and goal setting structures for your business, and how would you set that up for growth so that everyone knows what it is that they're shooting for, and then how to identify it. So again, thank you all for your time and your input today. I hope you have a fantastic day.
Man, thank y'all so much for having us. Really appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Most definitely. And those of you who are joining us for the first time, this is the HL Flake Business Roundtable, Security Professionals Roundtable, and we've been doing this for the last about the last 2 months. Actually, I think this may be our 7th or 8th episode of this. There's lots more that you could go check out. You can go to HL Flake's YouTube page or their Facebook page and see all the other ones we've talked about. A variety of different topics directly relating to how business impacts our industry and how you can develop a better business in the locksmith and security industry. For those of you who are interested in exploring this even further, I host a daily business meeting call, a meeting where we all get on a Zoom and we talk to each other and we share ideas and we brainstorm and we challenge each other, and it's a group of action. And we're challenging each other and encouraging each other to take action and to be a better business as we're developing and working through this pandemic. If you're interested in finding out more about that, you can look at the website. It's called businessmeeting.online. It's a free website to check out. It's a free meeting to join. There is no commitment required other than action. We're going to ask you that if you're going to be a part of the group, that you're going to commit to making action and doing something about it, not just talking about it. So thank you again to HL Flake for helping to host this and to get this information out and to promote this for our industry. They are doing a lot for the locksmith industry, and we are doing our best to support them as well, and we can all do our best to continue to improve and strive for improvements in our own organization. If you're one truck, if you're one person, or if you're 100, it's all applicable. There's business practices that can be applied to your business for improvement. We thank you for joining us today. Hope this information has been great. If it has, we ask you to share it. Share it out on your Facebook page. Share it out on YouTube. Share it with a friend. Send it as a text message if somebody else would get value out of this conversation. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.